Hey guys, how's it going? Civic here today. So we're going to be doing a radiator flush and we're going to be doing the thermostat on this Honda Civic. So it's a year 2000. First thing that you're going to want to do is read your warning label. If you've been driving this thing, doing a road trip or anything, you don't want to be doing this. You want to let, of course, your engine cool down, because if you open this, it's going to burn yourself and you're going to scream. So what you're going to do is take your cap off, like so. And then after you do that, as you can see, I'll be doing something in here afterwards. But next thing you're going to want to do after you have that open, now we know everything's good, we're going to want to take what I like to call the underbra or the underguard off this car. So it's very easy. First thing you're going to do is look inside the wheel well. Now if you look inside, you're going to see a bolt right there, which is, or sorry, not that bolt. There is going to be a bolt. Actually, that was the bolt. There is a bolt that you will see up in there. Another one. I'll show you on the other side because it's much easier. I have the tires turned a little bit so I can show you easier. But you see this hole up here? There will be a bolt in there, and then farther back there will be another bolt, which are all 10 mils. Actually, I got the bra right here. I can show you. See? One there and one right there. It'll be up in the wheel well. And then on the other side, you'll have two bolts just like this side. So, next thing you're going to want to do is, if you take a look here, you're going to see some more 10 mil bolts. Only that'll be up like that, tucked in. So you're going to drop those, and that gets rid of your mud guard. Like I said, they're just all along the front and in the wheel well. Once you get that out of the way, get yourself a bucket. And next thing you're going to want to make sure is you either do this on grass or you do it on pavement and you have concrete cleaner, because if an animal eats or drinks this stuff, they're pretty much dead. So you don't want to let an animal consume this. So once we do this, if you have strong hands, you could also jack up your car. I won't be jacking it up at this time because I can actually get in here without doing so. But you're going to put this underneath and you're going to see this toggle, and it'll be in there very tight. Some people call it the peacock, some people call it the drainage plug. So all you're going to do is you're going to grab it and turn it. As you can see, I just turned it a bit. I'm going to be stopping the camera here because when I unscrew this, I want to be able to move the bucket if it starts pouring out more than I want it to. So stay tuned. Next thing I'm going to be doing, like I said, is just unscrewing this, and it's going to drain all our remaining fluid in our little radiator into here. So stay tuned and get ready for, well, a maybe mess. All right. So if you guys take a look here, you'll see that we have a hose right here. Now, I think this one, on this radiator, we did have some leakage happening, so I think this is a little bit loose, and the fact that there's not a hose clamp. Usually there's hose clamps on all this stuff. Maybe it's not from Honda, I don't know. I'd have to look at a stock Honda, so I'd probably hit the Google before you take my advice on this, but for something this loose, I might even put a hose clamp or replace the hose. That's another thing it's a good thing to check. Check your radiator hosing, like there's one right here and one right here. You'll see this hose and this hose, feel them. If you feel that these hoses are very, like they're strong, and they don't give like this, like see how I can flex these, but if you do that and it doesn't give at all, those are a high risk of cracking, and it's a good thing to replace those. And that's why I'm just going over the system, like I said. And if you want to clean this part out, if you have a hose clamp on here, you'll want to, of course, remove it. If you don't have a hose clamp on there, I guess you'll just pull it off. And then on the top of your radiator reservoir right here, just pull up on it. And as you can see, our reservoir is kind of dirty, so we're going to clean that up. So stay tuned for that. Something to do while your radiator is draining. So the next thing you're going to want to do is, if you take a look here, there's a bolt on the top. There's a bolt that's going to be right here. There's three. I took out, you don't really need to take out the center bolt. The reason why I did is because it made it easier to get the third bolt. The second bolt, or the center bolt, which is right here. I'll pull this out in a second so I can show you. Let's just pull it out now. See how there's three bolts in there? This one is actually just a ground for the sensor ground. If you look, there's a sensor that plugs in right there. I moved the sensor because I don't want to risk breaking this, because this can be sometimes seized a little bit. So I took off the sensor cable, which was right here. It's just a press in. Once you get that out, unbolt and unbolt. And then that third bolt, if you get that third bolt out, which is right here, like I said, that's the sensor ground. That you don't need that. Take that one out. I only did to make it easier. I got the second one out. Once we got to this point, now we have this open, and as you can see, there's our thermostat. Now, keep in mind you are going to get fluid around, and you're just going to, of course, wiggle that out and get your thermostat out. This thermostat looks like it's definitely seen better days. So I'm going to pull the thermostat, and that's what you need to do next, so stay tuned. Next thing you're going to be doing is slipping this back in, but before you do, make sure you put this gasket back on, make sure it's seated properly. A lot of the times when you buy a thermostat, it doesn't come with the gasket, you have to buy extra, so make sure if you are buying a thermostat that you get the gasket. Make sure you check the box, or just, yeah, make sure in the end that it's coming with a new one, because you always want to get a new gasket. Once you get this, it's pretty easy. Just slide it on, make sure you don't cut into the rubber. It just fits in between the two pieces of plastic. Let's see if I can pull it. See that? How it just slipped in there? That's all. It slips in between the two pieces of rubber, and then once it's on there, it just slips in the same way you slipped it out. Just slip it right on in, and then we can bolt that all back up. Another thing is to look for debris and stuff that might have been caught on the thermostat inside the pipe. And again, squeeze the pipe, make sure it's all good, and if it's brittle, replace it. So stay tuned. Next thing you're going to want to do after you tighten the peacock or the valve on the bottom of the radiator, make sure she's nice and tight, and yeah, after that's done, the next thing you're going to need is 2 of these jugs. That way we can fill it. Now the reason why I say 2 is you're actually only going to need 1 jug of antifreeze, but you're going to need a second jug about this size, even if it's windshield washer fluid and it's empty, and that's only if it's concentrated, because what's going to happen is we're going to pour half of the jug into another one, and then you have what's known as 50% in this jug, 50% in the other one, and then you top it up with water, mix it up, and then you have a 50-50 mix, which is what you want to put in here. Now, the other way you can buy antifreeze is already pre-mixed, and it'll say pre-mixed or concentrated on there. If it says concentrated, it means you have to mix water in yourself, which is actually kind of cool, because then you get double the amount of antifreeze. If it says 50-50, then you do not add water. All you're going to do is pour it in there. So again, if you have concentrate, you're going to have to basically pour half and half, and then you fill the rest up with water, so you have 2 jugs of antifreeze. Whereas the other way, if you bought a pre-mixed 50-50, then all you're going to do is pour it in. You do not add water. Okay, so next thing is top up that radiator. After we get it to the point where our radiator does not take any more fluid, I will show you how or what we're going to do next, so stay tuned. Next thing we're going to do, as you've seen before, I had the funnel in here, I was filling it up. I've moved it out of the way so I can show you what I'm doing. So, as you can see, this is pretty full, but I had the funnel in here, and as I was topping it up, it would fill up. And then you'd see air bubbles come up, and then it would go down. Now, a way to, after it goes down a little bit, the other thing you're going to want to do is, if you take a look at this big radiator hose right here, you're going to grab it, and you're going to squeeze it. See how the fluid's going up and down now? That's because what I'm doing is, I call it, and what other people call it, of course, is burping the line, because you're moving air bubbles in and out of the line. And you can also do it with this one. As you can see, I can tell mine's full because when I squeeze it, it comes all the way up. So the next thing I need to do is circulate the system. And by doing that, what we're going to have to do is start the car. After you start the car, you're going to let it go for a bit. And the next thing you're going to want to do, of course, is hop in. I'm just going to show you. So if we were inside the car, you know what you're doing. So once you do that, you're going to crank the heat, put the thermostat up all the way, and then have it on double vent blow if you want, but have it up all the way. And the next thing you're going to do is start your car, and we want to get it to operating temperature, so that way everything kicks in and starts circulating around the engine. And that helps get it to where it needs to go. So just pump that on full heat, full blast there, and then we want that to get to operating temperature, which is right in the center. And from there, we can make sure that it's taking it all. Also, the other thing you're going to want to do is come over here and make sure your reservoir is topped up. That's the other way you can do this, is now that we know where we're at, we can always throw the cap back on and refill the reservoir. Basically what we're doing is just making sure we can keep the fluid coming along through here. So next thing, start the car and get it to operating temperature. Of course, if you want to, after a while, if you don't see the levels changing at all, what you can always do is pop your radiator cap on and just go off the reservoir. Alright, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so what I've done so far is I'm just monitoring. As you can see, it slowly goes down. I fill it back up. It goes down a little bit more. I fill it back up. And that's just me cycling the fluid through to make sure it stays at max capacity. And then in a bit here, I'm just going to be putting the cap back on, and we'll go from there. But yeah, stay tuned. So, I've now let the car warm up. I let it do its stuff. It's still doing what, basically from now I've got the cap on. I'm going to take it a ride around the block and do some stuff like that and just make sure that it's all good now. As you can see, I didn't put a hose clamp on there. I read up on some forums. Some people do put a hose clamp on there because that's the first point that usually pushes off. If you get the pressure gets too big in the system, that pops off rather than blowing the rad. Some people like to leave it. Other people will put a hose clamp because they just don't want to deal with that bursting off if the pressure gets too high. It's totally up to you. Again, I'm just going from what other people have told me. I don't do a lot of work on the Civics, but yeah. After we got that, now I've got my reservoir topped off. Now I'm just going to go drive around the block, see what we can do there. After we drive around a bit, after the engine cools down, I'll check our reservoir level, or I'll check the reservoir level, but I'll also check the radiator level. If it's a little bit down, I'll top it up. So I think that's about it. That's all I can really show you for this video. I hope this helps you out. It's actually very easy to change the thermostat in this car and to do a radiator flush. You don't even have to jack it up. If you want to, I've got videos on how to jack up your car, but it's super simple. You can probably do this in under an hour. Other than that, I hope this video helped you out. Thanks again for watching. Press that like button if it did help you out, and of course, subscribe for other videos. You never know what I'm going to be doing next.